Three, two, one.
You ready?
You're listening to the Real Pineapple Podcast Network. Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. This is the Real Pineapple. This is your humble host, Hunter, here. And I'm here with Scott. Scott, how you doing, sir?
Good, man. Happy to be back with you. It's been a long time since the last time.
Yeah,
About a
it's been
week.
A couple weeks. Yeah, a week or two. Well, I'm happy that we're back with what we're reviewing. We are reviewing Palm Springs, the new I don't say Andy Samberg joint. That sounds silly, but sure, the new Andy Samberg joint with an actress I'm gonna get into. I realized how badly I just phrased that. That was just like that wasn't intended to sound dirty, but I will get to her. But Palm Springs is directed by Max Barbakow, who I am not familiar with. I've heard of a couple things that he's done. In particular, a couple of his shorts. The documentary "Mommy, I'm a Bastard" I've heard of, but I've never seen any of his stuff. So this is my first exposure to him. And then Andy Ciara, who's the writer on this, he wrote this. He was a writer on the show Lodge 49, which I've heard good things about, but really not familiar with either of these guys. So Andy Samberg, I'm a huge fan of. Brooklyn Nine-Nine, love Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I think it's actually my favorite comedy on TV right now, to be completely honest. And Kristen Milotti, who is who I was trying to get to, she of course played the mother on How I Met Your Mother. And I will say, if there's one thing about this you can say, this is better than the series finale of How I Met Your Mother, because whoo, but
That's not a huge bar.
I know it. I know that's not saying a lot, but I also recognize her from I want to say the second season of Fargo, where she played Betsy, and she was great on there. And I gotta be honest, man, she's the best thing about the last season of How I Met Your Mother. You know, that show had jumped the shark, at least 2 seasons prior. But I really enjoyed just how earnest and how very charming she was in that last season of How I Met Your Mother. And that carries over here, because I thought she was playing Sarah. I thought she was just amazing in this role. And Andy Samberg, he
Wait. Is she the mom? Is
yes.
Kristen Milioti the mom?
Yeah, from how
Dang, spoiler. I'm just kidding.
Wait,
I haven't.
Such a dick.
That's one I mean I knew already, but don't really care. But that's not one I haven't seen all the way through yet. But
yeah, honestly, dude, I'm saving you some time, man.
No, I've never really had any interest in it. But sorry, continue.
You're fine. You're such an asshole. I was like, oh shit. I'm like, what's bad about that is, like, because of spoiler culture, for half a second I was like, oh shit, I didn't mean to ruin that for you, Scott. And then I'm like, you dick. Like,
it's alright. I had to put you through it.
I know. But Andy Samberg is one of those guys. So Lonely Island, I've talked about my adoration for Andy Samberg. I think he is just a brilliant comedian. Of course, you know him from Saturday Night Live. I love his Nicolas Cage impression so goddamn much. I think it's one of the funniest impressions I personally have ever seen. I'm a huge fan of Hot Rod. I don't think we've talked about, Scott. Have you seen the unauthorized Bash Brothers documentary on Netflix?
And I love it.
Yeah, I think it's one of the funniest fucking things.
It is weird and wild and like this. Oh man, it's like. It's only probably 40 minutes, if even that.
Like 30 minutes.
It's like 30 minutes, but
yeah.
It's so worth your time.
It really is.
It's incredible.
The fact he played Jose Canseco.
Well, that it's a visual poem, that it's like set in this like Miami Vice kind of 80s neon, like it's like visually like beautiful in the most hilarious way. Oh,
Yeah,
so great.
yeah. It's great shit, and honestly, for me, while this is not like the Bash Bros documentary, this is a weird fucking movie. I mean, it's Groundhog's Day. I mean, let's call it what it is. It's Groundhog's Day with a more dramedy aspect to it, and I've seen some people putting this as their favorite film or like top 3 favorite films of the year so far. Now, I understand that this year, who knows what's going to come up by the end of the year at this point because everything's been thrown into fucking turmoil. But for me, this is probably my favorite film of the year currently. I love this movie, man. So just to get into the plot very quickly. So we are introduced to Sarah. She goes ahead and wakes up on the day of her sister's wedding. Her sister, played by Camila Mendez, who, of course, as Veronica from Riverdale. Riverdale. No shame in my game. Love Riverdale. Think she's great on there. I only got through the first couple seasons, but I really dig the show. Like, I think it's that perfect. It's basically what CW needs to be doing. That perfect blend of angst, teenage angst and shit. I don't know. It works.
She looks like she could have been in Twilight.
Oh yeah, she could have. And she was just in this movie, Dangerous Lies on Netflix. That's a piece of shit. But oh my god, but she could easily. When they reboot Twilight, because it's coming, right, she could be Bella. But she plays the sister, Tala, and then Abe, who's played by Tyler Hoechlin. He is on the CW. He plays Superman, actually, and he's about to get his own Superman show, Superman and Lois Lane, that premieres, I believe, in January on CW. You also know him as Derek on Teen Wolf, which also, no shame in my game. Really enjoy Teen Wolf, the MTV show. It gets better as it goes on. Shut up. But
really,
I know
no
Scott
shame tonight.
Oh, no. dude, I never have shame. You know this. But so it's Groundhog's Day. She goes ahead, wakes up, goes through the wedding. Niles, Andy Samberg's character, gives this really surprisingly poignant speech about love and marriage in the first real interaction we get with him, that I was actually kind of taken back by. I was like, oh, okay, that was pretty cool. But then, of course, he immediately undercuts it when Sarah's talking to him one-on-one. He's talking about, oh, yeah, I didn't mean the fucking thing we said. We're all alone. And I was like, oh, fuck, okay. They're both two very, pessimistic people. And the joy of this is them learning to be, slightly better people. And I appreciate that, especially with us quarantining and everything, and wearing masks, which you should be, people. I appreciate this element because it feels like a lot of my days right now, where they all are kind of running together, and how it does feel like we're almost hitting repeat on our days right now. But Scott, kind of talk to me, man.
Yeah,
what do you kind of think?
Definitely, I think watching it, it's really hard not to think about the lives we're all living right now and how it can just be perceived as the same day over and over and over again, because it feels like that sometimes. But yeah, I think it really comes out strong with that speech, because it, like you said, this is Groundhog's Day. If you've seen any trailer about it, then you kind of know what's going on. They're not really keeping it a secret. So that was my biggest thing going into it, was how are they gonna keep it fresh? Because there's only so many ways you can get out of it or get into it and set up the plot. So that was definitely my interest, was the setup and the direction it was going to go. And then when he gives that speech, you're like, oh shit, this is actually going to be, there's going to be some substance to this, not just more of a wackier, because we love The Lonely Island, but they're kind of known for more like the wackier off the wall, more of the Bash Brothers type stuff. Pop star. They've never really. I was reading an interview, GQ interview with Andy Samberg, and he was talking that he's never had like this big blockbuster movie. He's had movies that are cult classics like Hot Rod, but they never really do great in box office, and that he's not really going to get to experience that with this one because it's coming out on Hulu. Anyways, like it was interesting to see how he was going to take more of a romantic comedy like aspect and take it through that kind of lens in this. And I think what you're talking about, that first speech, you're like, oh shit, like, okay, you got me. Like, where's this going?
Yeah, and I think, and it's a shame too, because we reviewed Popstar. We all love Popstar. Right. I thought that should have been the movie that really was a big hit, but it really kind of became more like a Walk Hard, which again I love, but didn't.
They just don't make money right in the box office.
Yeah. And I think if this was coming out in theaters, this would be something I'd be telling people, like, you should go see this. This is Neon Productions. Neon also did
Parasite.
They do a lot of kind of more indie stuff. Probably my favorite outing they've had is Ingrid Goes West with Aubrey Plaza.
Yeah, that was a surprisingly good one. And that it's kind of funny because I thought about that movie even just by looking at this poster. Like, it's got the same vibe.
It really does. And I think what's going to catch people off guard about this, now, I don't know if you even remember this. This was forever ago. But, pardon me, in the early days of the podcast, we recorded, never posted, a review for this movie called Celeste and Jesse Forever, which Andy Samberg was in. And it was him and Rashida Jones, a.k.a. Ann Perkins. And it was just like... It was pretty good, right? But it was this romantic dramedy, and I think that movie is so bad. Like, it's such a bad movie. I believe Rashida Jones wrote it. Sorry, it wasn't good. And I remember going, "Oh, maybe Andy Samberg just can't do drama." But there is a scene where they get pulled over on the side of the road by these cops, and they have a very uncomfortably real conversation. That I went, oh man, that's really, like, eek. Like, it actually made me uncomfortable. And you guys, if you've listened to the podcast for any length of time, you know things don't really make me uncomfortable. I laugh at everything for the most part. But that, in particular, especially with this one confession he gives her, I went, oh no. Oh no. Why are you telling her that? And it gets a lot heavier at points than I honestly thought it was going to.
Yeah, definitely. Like, and that's a real turning point in the movie when he tells her that, and actually when it's more revealed to us where she was kind of in the beginning when this all happened. But yeah, I think, like, very impressed with the range of Andy Samberg because you feel like you're given kind of like one dimension of him usually. And super raw, and like it's so quick, like, because that's kind of like his genius of comedy is like he really changes on a dime, but I feel like he did that but kind of more in a dramatic way, and that kind of conversation was like that when they were like at kind of a crossroads, and he kind of has to face the reality because the deal is that he's been there for a really long time. Like, he
said at least 1,000 times, I think.
Right, and by the time Sarah comes along, he like brings her into this world unknowingly, and by the time she gets in there, he's been there for a while, so he's made up his mind about a lot of things. And not until she's there that, like, he had really given up, which is hilarious. And the whole Groundhog's Day aspect of this, where you get to kind of see them constantly go through this, the bits that they have in there are really funny. Like, there's certain places that they go and like the things that they do I think are really funny, and like it's not like slapstick kind of or anything that you're used to from that Bill Murray movie, but I think it's kind of its own wittiness and kind of adventure, because they kind of do things that you would do, like they really like feel around for it, if that makes sense.
Well, oh no, it totally does. I think what made me laugh really hard is, when, because I think it's the second or third time she wakes up and she goes, fuck, she just freaks out, which you would.
Right.
Now personally, I would probably relive, probably like like when you came out here to visit, we watched like Infinity War. I'd probably just relive that day, because I get to have brunch and see you each day. Like that'd be cool. I'd be like, fuck yeah. But if you like if you had some real shitty day where you like lost your job or you were in that loop, you'd be like, fuck, this blows. There's one time where her sister falls face plant and so dude, you know me, man, I have a thing with teeth. And that shit, like, I turned away so quick. I was like, oh, son of a bitch. Like, knocked, 3 for front teeth out, I want to say?
That was so funny, because that was, like, only, like, the second or third time that she woke up, and, like, it just happened so quickly. She's, like, yelling at, what is his name? Andy Samberg. Niles.
Yeah,
so he's like yelling at Niles, throwing beers at him in the pool. And by the way, he is always drinking in this movie. He
constantly
always has a beer in his hand and is just going for it. But yeah, her busting her teeth was like one of the funnier parts, because then she like tried to walk in and fix it, because it was only like, that's just all she knew how to do, was kind of live in the now. So she went in and was like, oh shit, I broke her teeth, blah blah blah, what did you do? And that's kind of when it really takes off.
Yeah, that in particular, that scene made me laugh really hard. Now first off, so there's this point where Sarah is just, she freaks out because Niles and her, the first time they meet, they're gonna have sex like in the middle of the desert, and Andy Samberg goes ahead, strips down. You don't get to see any Sandberg dong, which is disappointing. No Thunder Gun Express here, but J.K. Simmons, Roy shows up and he shoots Niles with an arrow from fucking nowhere. I was mid sip of my mimosa. I was like, what the shit? And because I didn't watch a trailer or anything for this. I just knew Andy Samberg movie. I'm like, all right, I'm there. Hell yeah. And I was dying because Roy is hunting Niles like sport. And it gets really intense really quickly. But then when you find out what's going on with Roy, you go, oh, you're trapped in this too. That's gotta fucking suck. And you find out Roy has a lot more to lose than really anyone in this movie. I'll throw it to you here in just a second, but J.K. Simmons, J.K. Simmons is great in everything. Like, J.K. Simmons on Ambien could still turn out a better performance than, 60-70% of actors in Hollywood. The man is just walking consistency. And this is one of my favorite J.K. Simmons roles since Whiplash, which I fucking love Whiplash.
That makes me want to watch it again, just you saying that.
Yeah, we that might be a good review.
Yeah, let's just
do here in the next one. Dude, I'm down. We'll do that. But Roy in particular, the scene. If there's any complaint I have about this movie, and I have very few, but I wanted to see Roy and Niles become friends, because there's this montage of them doing coke in a bathtub. And because he's like, oh, you want to go for? He taps aside his nose. You want to go for a ride? And Niles is like, oh yeah, sure. And oh man, that whole sequence,
so
I was
good.
dying.
So good.
Like where Niles and Roy are like, there's a point where they're dancing with each other. I was like, oh my god, this is so this is such a bromance. This is completely Colin, Scott, or I. Like, you can interchange the three of us. Like, it's
just like so unlikely, but it worked so well.
Yeah, and And actually, J.K. Simmons has one of my favorite scenes in the whole film. I'm dancing around this. I know we typically go into full spoilers, but I'm dancing around this intentionally because I really do want people to discover as much of this film as they can for themselves. There's a scene that Roy and Niles have near the end of the movie, and I know you know what I'm talking about. That scene in particular, kind of his Roy's final monologue, I thought was so well done. It really got me a little choked up, if I'm being honest. I was like, okay, man. Like, I
was not expecting that. Like, especially
Same.
even plot wise. Like, I was not expecting him to be in that state, or like, just that whole scene it wasn't like unexpected where it was like, oh, this is too unbelievable. It was just like such a nice. I feel like there's so many small like twists and turns within this that it really kept you on your toes, and it just didn't fall into, because rom-coms can just fall into the motions and be boring, and you can kind of like, space out for a scene or two and then come back to it, and you didn't really miss anything. You had to like really be on it through this whole movie.
Yeah, I agree. And there's a lot of things here. I mean, there's a lot of little gags. I'm just gonna go through a couple of my personal favorites. There's Niles talks to Sarah about having sex. Because you're reliving the same day. Why you just shoot your shot over and over again, essentially. Like the dumbest frat bro, and you and I don't know, but Niles is talking about how all these times he's fucked other people in the world, and my personal favorite is when he is and I think you know exactly what I'm talking about. There's this scene. There's this one hookup he talks about where he hooked up with the bartender for the wedding, and she's going ahead and jerking him off in the back seat, and she goes, "Oh yeah, I hit a guy with my car once. This is a car." And he looks at her and he goes, "Huh, huh," and then he comes. I was like, "Oh wow!" And I had to pause the movie because I was hunched over. I'm like, that's so fucking dark, but I appreciate the fact that nothing. It caught me so off guard. I was like, wow, that's fucked up, but I appreciate that. And then there's this woman who works at this like this little bar, this kind of almost like a biker bar.
Darla, yeah, I had that written down too.
Yeah, and he talks about how he fucked her one time, and Sarah even goes like, "Oh, it was great, wasn't it?" He's like, "Yeah, surprisingly, yes, it was amazing." I was like, "Okay." And then there is, and I can't remember his relation. I think he's a friend of Abe's. I want to say. Is it Jerry? Jerry, who's played by I'm gonna butcher his name. Sorry, sir, but Tongai Sharisa, and he's like, oh wait, he's like, oh yeah, and I fucked Jerry. He's like, well, actually, Jerry fucked me. You see now just bent over, and Jerry's just going to town. I was like, damn. I was like, okay, movie, like it really doesn't pull any punches.
And then even after that, Niles confirmed it was like, yep. Yeah, you put my penis in my butthole. And she was like, yeah, no, I know what gay sex is.
Like, I know how it works. But the end of that gag is he goes, oh, well then I had sex with Howard, and Howard's her dad, played by Peter Gallagher, who I love seeing Peter Gallagher in fucking anything. He's wonderful. And she goes like, wait, what the fuck? He's like, oh no, I'm kidding. He's like, god damn it. And I was like, oh movie, you're just wonderful. I love, honestly, man, I love this, man, because it's 90 minutes too. Mm-hmm. Like it's a clean 90 minutes. It doesn't overstay its welcome. This is not an Apatow movie. It gets out, and it kind of leaves you to go ahead and just bask in it. I know you mentioned the scene where they get arrested earlier, and while I love Sandberg in this, and I fucking love Andy Sandberg in this, I think this is genuinely a star-making thing, or a star-making vehicle for Kristen Milotti. I think she's gonna get a lot more offers. I mean, let's just set the timer for what superhero movie she's gonna pop up in, because that's the thing right now. But she had this line, and it's just a one-off line, but it had me dying. This cop's like, "You're under arrest," and she, without missing a beat, she goes, "Suck my dick, officer bitch." I was like, "Wow, what?" I was like, that's incredibly aggressive.
Yeah, when she goes crazy and like she gets pissed off and goes crazy is really hilarious, and she's like trying to touch the cop car and stuff like that. It's so awesome when she goes off.
Yeah, and I have this written down just because it made me laugh. So when Niles explains what's going on, there's this scene where he's at the top of the cave and he raises his hands up and he goes, "I am the Antichrist." And she's like, "What the fuck?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm just kidding. There is no God." And I was like, "Oh shit!" I was like, "Oh," I was like, "Okay, movie. He's like, you're gonna piss some people off, but I am dying." And you do get some Sandberg butt, so I mean that's something.
Gotta love it.
So if you wanted to see Andy Samberg's butt, this is the movie for you. But
like a surprising amount of jerking off, I want to say too. Like at the beginning, it's so funny. I would actually love to watch this movie back through because some of the stuff in the beginning when you don't realize that he's been there for a while is even funnier. Like there's a point when one of the things that keeps repeating is he tries to have sex with his girlfriend right when he wakes up, and the very first time it happens, she's like, actually no, not the first time it happens. Yeah, first time it happens, it just isn't working out for him, so he just like stands there jerking off to her and can't finish because she's just droning on and on. That was hilarious. And then I wanted to touch on Darla too that you mentioned. I thought that whole kind of bit plus them always going back to that same bar. This is like rickety old podunk bar that they keep coming back to and doing hilarious things is like one of my favorite parts. But yeah, also just real quick to touch on short and sweet. I think because the movie was what did you say? 90 minutes? What was the
90
minutes? I think that just like made it better. And I love when I'm sure it's really hard, but when people are able to have ideas but then fit them into a like shorter window like that, I think it's hard, but it pays off.
No, I agree, and I was really just happy to see Andy Samberg in this because he's wanted this for a while. Like it's very clear, and I know this didn't get. I'm bummed this didn't get a theatrical release because of everything, but this is something I'm already telling people, like, you need to watch this. This is a clean 90 minutes. It's well worth your time. Just thinking about other things, one other thing that really had me dying as far as the whole sex thing. There's a time that Niles shoots his shot with Talia, Sarah's sister, like while he's getting married. I was like, holy crap, he does not give a fuck, and it's so uncomfortable. But I love the way that scene played out, and I love, and I don't want to spoil it, but why Sarah is so mad each morning she wakes up. The reason behind it, not just because she's reliving the day, but that thing. I was like, oh, shit. Like, when that's revealed, I went, oh, this changes everything, actually. And this explains a hell of a lot. Getting to my final thoughts, man, everyone brought it in this. I was really impressed with everyone. No one felt at a place or that they weren't, trying. I know that sounds almost like a backhanded compliment, but I really appreciate the cast and the diversity in the cast. There is a mid-credits stinger that I appreciated. The one real gripe I had was June Squibb, who plays Nana, who plays the grandma. It's implied that she knows about the time loop, and they don't really address that.
I think, and that, if we can get into gripes here, like, that leads into, you don't want to think too hard about the events and, like, the physics of it all, because they kind of try to wrap it up in a sort of realistic way by explaining some of it, sort of, and then they throw that in. You mentioned Nana, like, it was almost like a message from Sarah or something.
Yeah.
And, like, so it's like, it's it definitely does get confusing when they kind of throw all that stuff in, but then also try to make it real. You know, like they also try to be like, oh well, this is explainable. But then if you think about it, like the series of events and like at the end, I'm not going to spoil it, but the way that it's played out, you're not sure who's a part of are these characters a part of each other's time loops, or are they part of their own? So it's like you don't want to think too much into it, because I think you could find some disparities between what they say and what happened. But it was just like more. It was more than that. It wasn't. It was less about that. But yeah, I do agree with you. The Nana part, I had me going like, wait like, what just happened there?
Yeah, like that was the one thing that kind of stood out to me. Oh, actually, okay, that's a lie. So this is my second thing. They showed dinosaurs in this, and it is like never dressed like ever again. That was something I was like,
I would have missed that.
Yeah, no. That was something I went, whoa. Like, okay, is this Land of the Lost? Or, yeah, like they just kind of threw in like dinosaurs. But then they bring up the dinosaurs later on in the movie, and I was like, okay. I was like, we're getting a little. But again, out of a 90-minute film that I laughed at and cheered and clapped so much, those are my two really only gripes, and they don't take away from my enjoyment. It is just stuff I go, okay, we are critics. I need to bring this shit up because it's something
for sure
you will notice, and so for me though, it's still fan-fucking-tastic though. Yeah. Again, I think this really could. I see a world where someone would try to push this to be 2 hours. And for a concept like this, I don't think it needs to be 2 hours. Actually, that's a lie. I know it doesn't need to be 2 hours. And I keep harping on this movie, but The King of Staten Island is over 2 hours. It's 2 hours 15 minutes. There's no goddamn reason it should be. This is a clean 90, thank God, and it's enjoyable. It's well paced. I actually also appreciated the resolution at the end. Because it's different than a lot of these go, and I was like, okay, I really appreciate that. It's not about being a good person or anything like that, and you could really tie it into something like Purgatory, if you wanted to, think a little deeper on this. I really enjoyed this, and this is something everyone should see. It's on Hulu, so you have no reason not to see it. Fan-fucking-tastic for me. But Scott,
all the things that you said, I think like it hit closer to home because of what we're doing right now and what's going on, and like the endlessness that it feels like. So it like kind of drew you in more. And I agree with you. I was, like I said at the beginning of the top of the show, I think that I was really waiting for their explanation of it and how it was going to resolve itself or not resolve itself. And I was really pleased with how they went about it, and it was like still silly, and they didn't take themselves too seriously, which is why I say don't think too far into it, because they didn't really take themselves very seriously in that respect to the movie. And it's more than that. It's more about love and your kind of place in the world and things like that, which I mean, I can't believe I'm saying that about one of his movies, and a Lonely Island produced movie at that. But yeah, I think I don't think this is fantastic for me, but it's definitely an A+. And I would recommend it to everybody to see it. I think it was like fun and even lighthearted at times, but then it kind of brings you back in. And yeah, I really loved it. I think it is definitely near the top of my 2020 list, if not at the top. So go see it. I mean, there's just like so many bits, and I'm sure they threw out so many just to keep it short. But it flowed together. The cast was great. I just think it's a great movie.
So I'm gonna give a little peek behind the curtain. So because I was on an A+, for most of it, to be honest. The reason I gave it a fan-fucking-tastic is because, and I'll be honest, I was concerned, and I say this mid-credit scene is important for this reason. It felt like they were going to leave... okay, it felt like there was a character who's prominent who's going to be left high and dry. Mm-hmm. And they addressed that.
Oh, for sure. No. Absolutely. Okay. For sure.
Because honestly, I was at an A+ for most of it. I was kind of like, okay, this is brilliant, but I need, I was like, I need this one thing addressed.
Yeah.
And
no, I know. I don't fault you for it. And yes, I totally agree. That was needed, definitely.
Because I'll be honest, if that thing isn't there, it's probably an A or an A+. Like that, just for me. Yeah. But, yeah, there's a lot of gags in here I feel like I missed because I was laughing so hard. And,
we don't need to give them all away, too. I feel like I don't want to spoil it too much.
But it almost makes me want to do Coke. Like, I haven't done Coke. I probably won't do Coke, but I'm kind of tempted
it looks fun.
Coke. I'll do Coke with J.K. Simmons. If I meet J.K. Simmons...
I don't know, wait, because that's one thing, because I don't know what they were doing. They were doing, like, meth or something, because they were, like... hallucinating and like
oh that's true. I thought they were doing coke.
I thought so too, but then like they ended out in the desert with like their clothes off and stuff and like his tie around his head. So I don't know if that's a coke thing or if that's like they got a little crystal.
Yeah. So I remember Niles does say he tried
he did try it once.
Yes. So but I think what him and Roy were doing was coke. So I love the way we're discussing like the intricacies of like it was coke.
No.
That's
what
coke.
Is that?
Yeah, like, MDMA, but ladies and gents, Palm Springs, have you seen it? I'm gonna probably do a double feature of this and Ingrid Goes West because Leia hasn't seen either of them. Yeah. I'm like, well, that's probably gonna be our next weekend will be both of those. But let us know what you thought in the comments below. You can go ahead and like us on Facebook at The Real Pineapple. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter at JHunterRealPineapple. You can follow Colin on Twitter. We miss you, buddy, at The Real O'Neill. That's REEL O'Neill. And you can follow Scott on Twitter at
Newman the First.
And you can find us on SoundCloud, Apple and Google Podcasts, Podbean, Stitcher Radio, Spotify, and iHeartRadio at The Real Pineapple. We will have reviews up. Thank you so much for your support. We'll have reviews up this weekend for for the Babysitters Club. I sat through and watched it, and I'm going to tell you, Scott, it's way better than it has any right to be on Netflix. And I reviewed Twilight Zone Season 2, which I will have a review up for as well. Guys, thank you so much for your support. I'll be honest, I don't know what's coming out this weekend, so if there's nothing new, Scott and I will find something. Maybe we'll review Whiplash. Maybe that'll be our review this weekend. I mean, we're talking about it. Why not? But guys, thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon. Stay safe out there. Wear a mask.
Bye.